Could they? Investors hope the midterms were a signal to Trump to push ahead with a trade deal with his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping. Trump said he is hopeful for a great deal, but added that China was not ready for one. Saul Loeb, pool photo via AP file. China's stock markets are looking good this morning, and it's hopes that Xi Jinping and Donald Trump can set the table for some sort of bilateral trade agreement at the G20 meeting taking place in Buenos Aires on November 30. Backroom talks between the U.S. and China have begun once again in preparation for the two presidents to meet in 2 weeks. The Chinese stock market has been in a bear market since the first quarter and has never recovered since tariffs were enacted in June and July. China has retaliated, leading many Democrats in farm districts to gain new seats in the House of Representatives as a new anti-tariff voice for farmers. The hopes are that both countries would be able to strike a deal and put the woes of trade war behind them, says Naeem Aslam, chief market strategist for Think Markets in London. Trade war woes have created a meaningful impact on global growth, with European and Chinese equity markets taking the biggest hits. The U.S. stock market has outperformed them both, but the China has been a wet blanket to the larger emerging market universe. China accounts for nearly 40% of most emerging market indexes. The MSCI Emerging Markets Equity Index keeps running into a stone wall, unable to beat its 50-day moving average. The Chinese currency pulled back from the all-important psychological level of 7-to-1, which investors regard as negative tipping point for the yuan. There are indications that the People's Bank of China (PBOC) has been intervening either directly or via the state banks to some degree. New leadership at the bank said it would not prop up the yuan. Pro-China protesters display a placard with Chinese words "Crazy Men Step Down" during a protest against U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war against China outside of the U.S. consulate, Hong Kong, Monday, October 1, 2018. AP photo, Vincent Yu. In other market crystal balls, the U.S.-China bond yield spread, the difference between yield between the 10-year bond of both governments, is at its tightest level since July 2010. China unleashes a load of economic data this week. Monthly economic indicators for industrial production and fixed asset investment are due out, along with other third-quarter earnings reports. Over the weekend, Alibaba busted its own record for its Singles' Day sales event, selling over $30 billion worth of goods on its online shopping platforms in one day. China has emerged as a serious competitor to U.S. high-tech companies in Asia. Although China says its new military buildup is not meant to threaten the U.S. the Pacific Ocean, it is clearly a deterrent to the strongest Navy fleet in the region, which just happens to be American. China is rising, and Washington under Trump wants to put a lid on it. The president has boasted a number of manufacturing jobs being set up in the U.S. Supply chains have been shifting out of China and into cheaper Asian nations prior to the trade war this year. But because of tariffs, companies are moving out of China at a faster rate. Ask any American corporation that's a member of either the U.S. China Business Council or the American Chamber of Commerce in China what they think about China, and they will all say that they like being there, but that they don't play fair. When asked if tariffs are a solution to get China to be more of a market economy, they say no. When asked what they would do to remedy the situation, they have no idea. The U.S.-China Business Council has been lobbying for a bilateral trade agreement for years. President Obama sought to surround China with a free trade agreement of Pacific nations called the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but Trump nixed it practically on day one of his presidency. Everything is looking up on this side of the Atlantic this morning. The Stoxx Europe 600 index rose for the first time in 3 days, with telecoms leading the way after Vodafone delivered better than expected quarterly results. Futures on the Dow, Nasdaq and S. positive thanks to word that China's Vice Premier Liu He is coming to Washington to pave the way for a meeting between Trump and Xi in Argentina, Bloomberg reported this morning.